And Pakistan has thrashed Australia and Adelaide, and they're now 1-1 up in the series. Welcome to the shiny side. I'm your host, Faris, and we have with us a very smiley Omar from Houston. Omar, I don't remember the last time I said the words Pakistan has thrashed Australia. How do you feel?
Hey, that's why I have the big smile on my face. Those are not words you hear often, and I think I'm going to be able to go back and listen to the show again and again just to enjoy this moment. But yeah, what a performance! Been a great last few weeks for Pakistani cricket, and this was an amazing game.
Yeah. And I don't like to typically get into hyperbole, but I remember a lot of cricket, and I don't remember Pakistan ever winning a game of cricket in Australia so comprehensively against Australia. That is, I can't even remember a game that was such a comprehensive win for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've won only once ever in Adelaide. So just
Yeah.
all of those, so many things that were a first here. And yeah, I think except definitely something to be proud of. And yeah, hopefully this continues. And again, given how the last few months have gone, yeah, Pakistan just seems to take us through that emotion sine
So
wave.
the last time we won one ODI, it was in 2017. That was we lost the series. The last time we won a series in Australia was 2002 when Wasim, Waqar, and Shoaib were all playing. So it's clearly been a while. Uh, I think something like one third of the Pakistani population wasn't even born at that time. So it's clear most people haven't seen this before. But again, I guess and you can't even call it a one-off because I think we had a pretty good game with the ball the other day too, and we you can even say we were kind of unlucky not to kind of finish it off. So it's been a couple of good days so far. And I guess conditions does make a difference, right? So there is a big difference in when you have the same skill set in flat tracks in Pindi versus Melbourne and now Adelaide.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference. We've been criticized for playing the orthodox brand for far too long, but obviously these are the conditions. When you have a little bit of help for the bowlers, it really suits our style. But yeah, I mean, I was just thinking forward to Champions Trophy and thinking how will we adapt. So that'll be the challenge. But for now, I mean, hey, we're winning.
So I guess if you go to the top, right? So Pakistan, of course, won the toss, and I think Cummins said he would have also liked to bowl first. That was a good call, clearly. Uh, at the end of the last show, by the way, so we spoke about. I thought it might be a good idea to get a spinner in, get one of the specialist spinners in, and then perhaps leave out. We thought Naseem might be injured, otherwise leave out Hasnain and maybe something like that, right? But clearly they didn't go with that, and I guess given how well Haris Rauf did, that didn't really affect them. But what did you make of the 11? Do you think we should have pulled a spinner in, or you think this is the right combination?
I think that's the right combination. I don't think we have a spinner that's a superstar that is being left out. So I think these are the best bowlers. Hasnain's had that really good domestic form. Haris had a good game, and then obviously Naseem and Shaheen you back to having the team. So I think they are your four best bowlers, and then Agha and Saim kind of give you that all-rounder capability. So I think it was hard to justify. And again, given the pitches, I think, and looks like it went really well. Yeah.
So Australia actually beefed up their attack a little bit because they had Hazelwood had came in for Sean Abbott, right? So they were pretty much playing their tier one ODI bowling attack. They of course were still missing Travis Head and Marsh, who are both on paternity leave. So I think, given that, I think once the game started, right? So I thought, now this is one of those things, right? Like we talk about how Shaheen is not the same bowler post his injury, and he isn't. I don't think he's got the same speed. He probably doesn't have the same kind of skills anymore. But somehow in white ball cricket, he still manages to be effective.
Yeah, definitely. He bowled really well. Your statement on the speed, I think it really applies to all four fast bowlers we had. Nobody crossed the 140 mark. I think there were a couple of bowls over 140, but everyone's speeds were lower. So I don't know if there were other conditions, the environment and stuff
Yeah.
that played a part, which I don't see how. But yeah, I mean, he white ball cricket. I think he knows where to put the ball, and he was able to move a few balls, and one of them brought a wicket. And then going to your point on the Australian team, right? I think it's a big miss, right? I mean, Travis had top of the order. We've seen what he did at the World Cup. He's the one who sets the game for them, and even missing, obviously David Warner from obviously he's retired, but I think they missed those two new players at the top. I think made a big difference, and I think even in the World Cup going back then, right, we were talking about how their middle order wasn't as strong, and they were led by the top order. So I think that's a
Yeah.
big
So,
miss for them for
so
sure.
the top three, the two guys missing and David Warner were basically a big part of what they did. You're right. I guess, yes, so Shaheen started well. He got so there were a couple of boundaries in the second over of Naseem Shah's bowling by Jake Fraser McGurk, but then Shaheen got him LBW. And then there were three dropped catches, by the way. So Shaheen dropped,
Yeah.
one at the boundary. Then we had Saim Ayub dropping a catch of Steve Smith. But luckily for Pakistan, we didn't really, I guess, it didn't cost us too much because then Shaheen came back and then Babar caught short in the covers. It was a pretty like ordinary ball to be honest. But I think from there, it never looked like. I think we were always in the ascendancy. It seemed like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, a lot of areas to still improve and work on. Like you said, in a crunch situation, Australia doesn't give you so many opportunities as we saw in game one. They get a sniff and they take it to the finish line, right? So I think you got to be really on it. So a lot of areas to improve on. But yeah, I think the key was they kept coming back. And really, I think time to sort of, we're only game two into Mohammad Rizwan's captaincy. But I think there was a lot to take out from his captaincy. He was very proactive. He kept, even though, like you said, Shaheen and Naseem initially were both got hit for a few fours, right? It wasn't like they were bowling six perfect balls, but they would bowl the one or two magic balls, and he saw that. So I think he gave them time to adjust, and they both delivered. Naseem came back really well and kept it tight as well.
And I also like the fact that he got Hasnain before Haris, because we talk about this all the time in the World Cup, right?
Yeah,
Don't bowl Haris in the freaking power play. So he was trying
yeah.
to keep Haris back for as long as possible. He was coming on not in the ninth, but more in the 14th or 15th over, which
Which
is
which was, given how game one went, must have been a little bit of a
exactly
difficult
right. It
decision,
was very
right? But
tempting to like get him in earlier.
correct. So he didn't fall for it. So again, I think good that he understands the strengths and the weaknesses, and really really did well as a captain.
And as far as Harris is concerned, he's obviously having a killer tournament, right? But like the first one was perhaps you can say a bit lucky down the he was he had English caught down the leg, but the way he set up Labuschagne was unbelievable, right? It was proper test match bowling where he kept bowling it got it from leg stump to outside off stump and then got one to kind of keep its line and just did enough to get the edge.
Yeah, well, it seems like he's got he's Labuschagne seems to be his guy, but then also I think was it the Hardy, right, who fell off the pitch of a delivery that just straightened a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, those are perfect balls, which those aren't deliveries you used to talking about Haris Rauf, right? Like Haris Rauf isn't that type of bowler, so when he does that, we just hope it's the start of
And
something.
I think what no one really spoke about was so we were playing in at the Adelaide Oval, right? Which is that super short boundaries. The square boundaries are quite short. So Harris
Yeah,
actually was bowling not as short, he was bowling at the MCG. At the MCG, you could go with bowling shorter because the square boundaries were
yeah,
quite big. Here he pitched it
yeah.
up slightly and but so he had a different method, but it clearly worked for him. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think anytime a bowler like Harris can move the ball even a little bit, it is going to cause damage. And I think that's been the key, right? And our bowlers sort of over the years have sometimes struggled with it, outside of Shaheen and Naseem. So I think if we can
So
do that, we'll cause a lot of
yeah,
problems.
I think we had Saim on after the fourth wicket. Saim was bowling, and that's when we lost the fifth wicket, and Maxi came in, right? So now it was very interesting for me to see because I was talking on some WhatsApp group saying that Maxwell, we hadn't really bowled too much spin, and Maxwell would love to get a lot of spin. He did get one over of Saim, which he reverse swept him for six, but that's where Rizwan again got Haris back immediately, right? Now Haris has had his number, and it absolutely was the right call and worked again immediately.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things we need to watch out for as we go forward is our over rate has been really behind. We've been lucky to being able to get Australia out in the first two games, but so he had to get a spinner in because just to rush overs in and obviously for a fifth bowler. But you're right. I mean, that's where game sense, right? Matchups, and he was aware of the situation, and he made that change and it worked out. And by the way, Saim bowled some feature for a few deliveries. I don't know if you saw the first over. I mean, that was really nice to see. And then there was talk about how he can bowl some medium pace hitters as well. And overall, a really good game for Saim.
Apparently, balls off spin to the left-handers and leg spin to the right-handers. So, I mean, he's done
Yeah.
in the PSL. Peshawar often gave him an over in the power play, and he got a number of wickets in his first over. He would definitely have somehow, have that knack of picking up wickets.
Right. And I think just to make sure everyone's sort of on the right page here, right? This is just Simon's second ODI, right? We don't want to talk across different formats. This is
Yeah,
an ODI format,
true.
which so far he seems to be well suited to.
True. And there's one more thing. So Rizwan is now level with six catches, was the most by a keeper in a game. He could have actually had one more, but he actually dropped one in the end, quite a straightforward one. Otherwise, but
Yeah,
again,
arguably the easiest one. Yeah.
yeah, but again, I thought he was quite on ball with the gloves and with the as captain, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Rizwan is a keeper. I mean, the series in Pakistan, the Test series, keeping to those spinners, he never really misses. So I think we're very lucky there, and it goes unnoticed that he is probably one of the best keepers out there today.
Keeping
So
is thankless, right? People only notice when you drop it. But I don't know if you saw the moment where they were considering reviewing this one. So he went up to Zampa and said, "Shall we review? Did you hit it?" And Rampart
Yeah.
Zampart said, "You guys love to appeal, don't you?" But I just feel like,
Yeah, yeah.
in that kind of serious moment to have the just to kind of have that kind of chilled out vibe, I just think it's really good for the team, generally speaking, right? Because the
Yeah,
captain.
yeah, it shows that he's a natural leader, right? He's not having to work hard to do something different. That's who he is as a person, and he's comfortable in that, which is, I think, sign of a good leader.
Yeah. So I guess coming on to perhaps the more exciting part of for me at least was Pakistan's batting. So we were 30 in 8 overs, going a bit steadily, and that's where Saim really turned it on. Right now, Saim has, like you said, has looked a bit sketchy. He's played a World Cup without a lot of success, but this is only his second ODI, and he took his time, but then he really got going and showed us a full range of shots. And there were some commentators like Michael Vaughan who've been a big fan of him since for a while now, but like they couldn't stop talking about him. What did you make of his batting overall?
Yeah, I think it's really solid. So, I was a little bit of little bit critical of Abdullah Shafiq in the start. I thought he missed out on a few freebies, but I don't think Saim missed out on any bad balls. So I think he capitalized, very solid in defense, and that's what you got to do against a good bowling lineup, right? And they had Australia were facing scoreboard pressure. So as long as you survived the first few overs, you knew they'd be under pressure, and he was ready for it, right? And I think all the shots he hit were his strengths. He didn't try, he wasn't taking too large risks. It was all natural stroke play and really good to see. And maybe he got a little bit carried away when he got out, but he turned it on, and he wasn't going that fast in the beginning, but he caught up, and he obviously his strike rate was over 100 when he got out. And I'll sort of talk about Abdullah Shafiq as well. And he did the same thing. He came back really strongly. But again, I think that's where the area of development is against good teams on another day, you may not have had a chance to come back. So how do you still
And
manage
you
to rotate
typically
strike?
won't be chasing 160 either, right? You'll be chasing a
Right,
bit.
right.
So you won't even have but yeah, so I think with Saim, he was 7 of 27, and then he made 75 in the next 44. So he clearly had a moment after the sixth or eighth over where he suddenly turned it on. Abdullah Shafiq, I thought, was never that slow to begin with, but he didn't even accelerate to the same level as Saim. But again, these two have been having a string of low scores across formats, opening the batting. So I think good to see them getting some runs. And I think for Saim again, right, is probably great for his confidence. So I was a little critical of selection where I didn't necessarily think he shouldn't be in the ODI squad, but I thought the format he has to be there is in T20s, but he's not in the T20 squad, by the way, for this series. So he's only in the ODI squad, which I thought was a bit odd. But let's see,
Yeah.
like, they may just add him to the T20 squad as well. Um,
Which, I mean, I think again, there's more similarities between the ODI and the test formats in terms of tech. You need some solid technique. You need to be able to last a while. And he's, had a few good tests as well. Now he showed this in the ODI game. So, is he maybe the T20? Obviously, he's had some decent PSL performances, but maybe there's other people suited for T20, right? Another
by,
discussion, I guess.
by the way, the number of Pakistanis who've hit six sixes in an ODI in Australia, the list is Saeed Anwar, Saim Ayub, and that's it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's tied with
Wow.
Saeed
Saeed
Anwar for
Omer,
six
wow.
sixes. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, I'm
good.
surprised that Ijaz Ahmed isn't there. I know Ijaz, that's like his favorite hunting ground.
Yeah, but I don't think he scored that many. But that's the thing, right? The list of people who have not done that is pretty much everybody who sits on TV bashing these guys, right? So, like,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
It's
No, it is
quite a
actually.
record. And apparently, Pakistan's become the first team to hit something like 10 sixes against Australia and an ODI in Australia. No one's done that ever.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Yeah.
this is a proper,
Lots to ponder.
proper mauling every way you look at it, right? Like
Yeah,
it's proper
yeah.
comprehensive thrashing, which is again words I never thought I'd say. But we had also got a glimpse of Barber towards the end. So again, he wasn't there for that long. I think he was just kind of, I guess, yeah, taking his time and then planted a monster six to finish the game off.
Yeah, I mean, Babar in game one was just sublime to watch. I just loved that. It was a short innings, but he looked
Yeah.
so good. Uh, he started off against Spin, and I thought that he didn't look as pretty as he usually does. So and that we've seen in the recent past, right? That is an area that he doesn't do that well. So, but obviously he was still around, and I think that's what he needs to understand is he is the anchor. When he's on the crease, the runs will come. So I think there are other people around him that can bat, and he probably just needs to play the anchor role a little bit more, and he needs to really value his wicket. So I'm happy that he was there till the end and he didn't get out. Obviously, this was a very easy situation, but yeah, I mean, we need to see him come big. I think
Yeah.
game three against arguably an inferior bowling attack.
So
I'm
let's
expecting
talk
big stuff.
about that, right? So now, for those of you who may not know, even before the series started, Australia announced that they'll be resting a number of these players for the third ODI because they have with the border Gavaskar. So pretty much all the Test players will not be playing third match, which is Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, Smith, and Labuschagne. And we already are missing Head and Marsh, right? So clearly, it's going to be a significantly, I wouldn't say a weaker side, but not definitely not like their top choice side, right? So English will be leading them. And surely now the way the series is set up, that would probably give Pakistan a lot more confidence Omar, in terms of trying to kind of wrap up a series win.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing we've learned ever since we've been watching cricket is you never count out Australia, especially against Pakistan. But yeah, absolutely. You look at it objectively, and Pakistan should be winning this game quite easily. On the batting front, I think Australia will probably, Labuschagne, Smith probably haven't really performed. So whoever they bring in might be equally
Yeah.
okay. So I think batting wise, they
Probably,
might be
I'm,
okay.
I'm guessing whoever's coming in is less solid but more explosive, right? So there is potential
Right.
for them to kind of,
Correct.
I guess,
Correct. If we
crush on
don't
the.
start well, like even their current openers, right, they can easily take the game away from you. But
Yeah,
obviously, Cummins and Stark or Cummins especially is very difficult to replace, even as a leader.
yeah,
So I think that'll be a big loss in the bowling, and so yeah, I think it'll be a fun game. If Pakistan bat first, really, I expect a high scoring affair.
yeah. Um, the game is on Sunday, by the way. It's a pretty short turnaround, less than 48 hours. So let's hope the guys can. So obviously, Australia mostly will have fresh players, so not an issue for them. But the Pakistanis will probably need to recover pretty fast. It's at the Optus Stadium in Perth. I think in the World Cup, there was a really strong Pakistani crowd there, and so that's why the Optus guys, the Western Australia guys actually bid for the Test match, and that's why they got the Pakistan Test last year. So there clearly is a lot of Pakistan following, and I think with this performance, this being a Sunday, we can probably expect a very healthy crowd, a lot of support for Pakistan in Perth.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Perth's always fun to watch. And actually, through the entire, both the games, the Pakistani contingent, there's a lot of
Yeah.
crowd there, right? Which is nice to see. I don't think historically we've seen a lot of Pakistanis. I don't know if it was because Australia played, but yeah, it was nice to see, especially given the how last year has gone for Pakistani cricket.
So we did the post first ODI show. It was myself, Omer Kazi, and Imran, and they predicted Australia winning. I said I think Pakistan's going to win it. So obviously a lot has changed since. But what's your prediction for the last game?
I think Pakistan's winning it and comprehensively. Again, things I never say I'd say, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I would go with the same prediction. I would have a slightly different view. I feel like Pakistan's best bet is probably to chase because I don't know if Pakistan bat first, they have at the moment they have the sense of what the right kind of score is. So they could either be too defensive or get under pressure. So that's what I would do. But any thoughts on
Yeah,
what our preferred strategy should be? Of course, it depends on conditions also. But
Yeah, I think you put a inexperienced Australian side under pressure, right? Let them go put up a score, and I think we can chase it down. We've got and with the bowling to really restrict them. So I think yeah, we stick to the same strategy. Again, early season in Australia, so might be some help in the wicket as well. So I stick with that. But yeah, my point earlier was if we bat first, I expect a high scoring us to put on a score given Australia's bowling, and I wouldn't expect anything less. I mean, that's just a
okay.
high expectation now from this batting lineup.
Good stuff. Omar, thank you for being on.
No, thanks a lot. Really, this was one game, as I was telling you earlier, that I stayed up till 3 a.m. and watched, and it was worth every
So worth
ball.
it.
And
So worth it. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
been a while.
for sure, for sure. And for those of you watching, we'll be back after the final ODI on Sunday evening. In the meantime, stay tuned to the shiny side.